Welcome to Why Don't We Dress for Dinner Anymore with host Theodora Krochman, cute in a leotard.
And documentarian and natural redhead, Melissa Pierce.
All right, Teddy, what are we talking about today?
Okay, well, I wanted to bring up an article that I had read in the New York Times, and the article was about should professional women dress down? That wasn't the title, but that was kind of the overall theme of the article.
Okay.
And for example, professional women are always schooled or taught that you should look very basic, have your plain black suit, navy suit, unobtrusive little blouse, not too much big jewelry, just don't draw attention to yourself. That you want to be recognized for your abilities, not for your looks.
Okay.
And in the article, what I read was very interesting perspective, because what they were saying is you can still be intelligent, you can still be smart, but it's also very smart to make sure that you get noticed. Because like we've talked many times, Melissa, when you walk into a room, you want people to notice you. You want people in a good way, right?
Right.
So what they're saying is by women dressing kind of like basic, plain, they're kind of making themselves invisible in the workplace. And it's not like they're saying, wear a pair of fishnets and a short skirt and, 4-inch stilettos. But what they're saying is it's not so bad to wear like a red outfit. I remember when I interviewed for my first managerial position, I had to interview with the director of our managed care department for the hospital because I was going to be doing contracting for behavioral health. And I wore a red, and I mean a red suit, and it had gold buttons. I had my hair, normal, whatever. And I had my 3-inch heels on, right? I went in, and the woman that interviewed me, and she was known to be very tough. She was a very sharp, smart lady, very tough though, not a big sense of humor, not real warm and, friendly kind of a person. What did she have on? A red suit. I am telling you, we hit it off like you wouldn't believe.
Meant to be. And
it was because Denise, even though she was not a huge fashionista, Denise knew how to command a room. And what gets more attention than red? You wear red anything and you're going to stand out like a sore thumb anywhere, because most people are wearing neutrals like we have on today, the blacks and the browns and navies and that kind of thing. So when somebody comes in with a color, you're going to be drawn to that color. So what the New York Times article was saying is maybe women shouldn't be so invisible in the workplace.
Maybe not.
Maybe they should dress a little bit more to be noticed. Maybe a few little, some cute earrings and a necklace and maybe some color, nothing, you're not going to look like a sex pot, but you want to be noticed. You want to grab, especially if you're getting up to give a talk or you're going to do a presentation of some kind.
Grab attention.
You want people to look at you.
So I thought that was like for giving presentations, they always tell you jewel tones. If you're going to be on television or you're going to give a talk, wear a jewel tone. But this article was specific to
professional women.
Women.
This is not women who are going to be on TV. It's your everyday middle management, upper management, supervisory position, whatever, even a line staff position.
And why the switch then? Why the switch from, hey, you're in a male-dominated space, what you need to do is blend in.
Be one of the boys.
Be one of the boys and be noticed for your skills and like, hey, it's really a meritocracy and you don't want to be too noticed for being a woman and dressing up.
Right.
So why the switch?
Right.
Why the switch?
Because I think because women are very predominant now, let's face it, in the workplace. In fact, I think the latest statistic I heard is that more women are going to college now than men.
Yes, that's true.
And that by, I think it was 2040 or something like that, they were saying that up to about 45% of the female population will never even get married because women are able to support themselves, are more educated, and they don't need to get married just to be in a situation
and
where they
more
can
Black women than ever are getting advanced degrees.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So as we move through the professional world, we can also redefine ourselves. And instead of blending in like one of the boys, women don't give themselves enough credit. We're not only very smart and we've had underutilized brains for centuries, but we have a superpower. And that superpower is our looks. Let's face it, women, if you're looking good, people are paying attention.
That's why everyone loves our show. Look at these ladies.
It's the truth. If you look good, and you don't have to be, magnificently beautiful, but if you're well put together, if you're well presented, if you're polished looking, but you don't blend in, you will get noticed more and you will be listened to. I remember I worked at a hospital, like I told you, for many, many years. I worked in the healthcare field, specifically behavioral health, for over 30 years. I never blended in, never. And I stood out like a sore thumb everywhere.
I remember that about you.
Yeah. I would wear purple suits. I never blended in. I always made sure that I dressed, especially if I was going into a meeting, I would make sure that I wore a bright color, something that would get noticed, because if I wanted to maintain control over the conversation, I noticed it was a lot easier if people were looking at me.
Right, and you were already disadvantaged because you're fairly short.
Right.
You're a woman at a time when like women were not perceived to have power.
Right.
And so you're like, I need.
So when I came in the room, believe me, everybody noticed it. Didn't matter how tall, short I was, how old, thin, whatever. I made sure that I had command of that room. And I was told many, many times during my work experience, Teddi, you can be very intimidating.
You're like, good.
And I'd say, well, what do you mean by that? Because I'm thinking intimidating means people are scared of you or threatened of you. And they would say, well, when you walk into a room, you're very noticeable and you make other people feel sometimes a little less than. And so I'm like, well, what should I do? Dress down so the other people won't feel bad? That doesn't make any sense. This is who I am, and this is how I'm going to dress. But I cannot tell you how many times I was told, you're very intimidating.
Because of the way
I dress. But this intimidating woman ultimately became the head of her department and later on became the executive director of a community organization. I was never ever out of work, ever. Because the minute I walked into an interview, I made sure I held that room. I held the attention of whoever I was interviewing for. And I don't want to brag, but I got every job I ever interviewed for.
I'm like, oh, Teddi, that's so unlike you.
No. And I just grab attention on Instagram. I thought it was interesting because I think I'm proud of that. I'm not being boastful. I am telling you, this is what I do. This is how I succeeded in my particular role. No, I didn't become the CEO of the hospital. I didn't have the credentials for that. But I got very far in a career that was relatively short, considering I didn't even start college until I was 27 years old, and I didn't complete my master's degree until I was 35. So my career was literally 10 years behind everybody else's. Yet by the time I got my footing into my career, I surpassed everybody who had started 10 years before me. So the power of dressing, I think women need to understand that a little bit more. And that's what struck me about that New York Times article is that, no, don't blend into the woodwork, make yourself noticeable, wear a jewel tone, wear red, wear a cute blouse, wear those accessories, walk into the room like you own it. Don't wear your red lipstick. You don't have to blend in with the boys. In fact, women are now starting to surpass men in the success rate in many of the professions.
And that's why we have the ultra masculine
Trump.
political bullshit. Yes,
Right.
because it's like, oh no,
Right. They're taking over.
the women are taking over.
Right,
We've got a minority majority. What do we do?
Yeah.
Oh no.
But
Okay,
what
sorry.
surprises me, Melissa, is most women still buy into that. I need to be in the background. I need to blend in. Think about it. 52% of white women voted for Donald Trump.
52% of white women who voted for Donald Trump.
Oh, right. If you don't vote, then it doesn't count. Because,
and,
then if they didn't vote, then they didn't care. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't care about them either. Well, anybody who lives in this country and doesn't vote, I don't care what you have to say. You have no opinion as far as I'm concerned if you did not vote because you did not participate.
I feel like they probably think that their opinion doesn't matter. So I'm telling you.
Your opinion does matter, but I don't know how many times women need to be reminded of this.
Yeah.
But what bothers me is the majority of Black women voted for Kamala Harris.
Of course.
But the majority of white women voted for Donald Trump. Why is that?
Like it's such a small percentage to 2%, but that's all that it takes. That's all that it takes.
Well, it's 2% of the majority, 2% higher. Why would 52% of women vote for Donald Trump?
I don't know.
The man has been accused by 20-some women of sexual assault. He was convicted in a civil court of sexual assault. He has 32 felonies against him. The first time he ran, he was caught on camera talking about grabbing women by their private parts because he's such an A-list celebrity. They let him do anything that he wants to them. And this is what you want as the leader of our country, women? Really? Is that the kind of, if that's who you vote for president, I hate to see what your husband's like.
Well,
think about it.
What if that's a step up from their husband? That's
right. That's
like,
scary. That's scary.
Wow. Kamala was too many steps forward.
Yeah.
And Trump was just a step enough.
Yeah, a step. He was a jump. I mean, it bothers me because I think to myself, still as well, and these are white, a lot of these were white, suburban, educated women. These aren't, some hillbillies that are, toothless and barely have $5 to, buy a carton of milk or whatever. These are educated, highly educated, supposedly intellectually sophisticated women that are voting for this monster. I don't know what else to say is a monster.
They still fall into like the fallacy of the down on the luck millionaire, and like Trump is going to help them get to that status.
You mean the fantasy that everybody is a millionaire?
Everybody's just a down on their luck.
Yeah, it just has.
They're still buying into whatever this particular dream is without thinking.
And again, that could be part of the reality TV thing.
I mean,
these women are all rich.
They're all racists. That's like, we can also go there, like, whatever. But so coming back to work, because we're never going to solve politics. Right. Coming back to work, then there are all of these. Like how to get ahead as a woman at work. So did you pick up in the New York Times article? Are there like books or anything?
No, it was one of those New York Times really brief. It's like maybe 4-paragraph kind of an article, just really kind of a short thing. But it struck me because it hit a nerve because, like I said, I was told several times you're too intimidating, dress down, be a little bit more in the background. And I'm not a background kind of person, as you know, Melissa. No. So that kind of just, I think, underscored my own thoughts on, how professional women should present themselves in the workplace, but not only in the workplace. We were talking about, I think the other day with Diane Gilman, about, women being invisible, women, kind of being in the background. Women don't say too much, don't speak too much, just kind of blend in. And that's what they're trying to train women to do in the professional world too. Okay, we have to put up with you, but, go in the back and just sit and listen and nod your head and don't talk too much. Don't be too engaged in the whole process. And by controlling what people wear, you're in some ways controlling their behavior because we oftentimes act the way we're dressed.
Well, that's the thing. We were talking about this on another episode. You were
Yeah.
talking about Jerry Springer, people dressing like how they dress at home and how
Right.
if they're doing that, they're not really bringing their best selves
Right.
to the conversation.
Right.
So dressing for the background, certainly if I'm out and I am not dressed in a particular way, I'm probably not going to approach someone
Right.
that I would normally approach because I'm
Right.
like, oh gosh, and I'm wearing these
Yeah.
dirty jeans or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So it's dressing up, and I wonder, like some of this is I'm constantly trying to figure out what we're wearing for the revolution. Really, it's what are we wearing for the? How am I going to recognize?
It would be a coordinated camouflage look for you. With a spot of red.
Coordinated.
A coordinated camo. I love a good camo look.
Oh.
So
Gosh, this conference I went to this weekend, there was this fantastic woman. She's just fantastic. Her name is Chelsea. Shout out. She was wearing camo pants. These
I love a camo look.
pants. She was wearing high heeled
Yay.
like the Timberlands. And I actually don't remember the pants because I was so taken with, or the shirt, because I was so taken with
the
like
pants.
the camouflage pants and those high heeled.
I love that. That
I
sounds
didn't
fabulous.
recognize her because they made her so much taller when she came in, and I was like, "Oh crap!" That's it's fantastic.
Well, you know,
I like that's the revolution.
High heels are the short woman's superpower because it's the great equalizer. Most women do not walk around in 3 or 4 inch heels. I, being a shorter woman, have most of my life walked around wearing 3 or 4 inch heels, whether they're stacked or they're wedges or whatever. I call it the great equalizer because being so tiny, I mean, I was originally 5'1". I think I've shrunk now, so I'm like 5 feet tall exactly. So that puts you, at most people's chest level. So, if you raise yourself a few inches, and most people are on flats anyway, you kind of, rise to their particular stature. And then, of course, with the way you dress, you're no longer little tiny Teddy. You are big Teddy when you walk into that room.
Teddy with a big personality.
Big ass Teddy. You're a big ass Teddy. Here comes big ass
stickers made. Here comes big ass
Teddy.
Hashtag.
But yeah, there's all kinds of ways in a professional capacity where the way you dress can actually help to get you further on in your career because you're perceived as a stronger person, especially it depends on the profession. If you're maybe in the computer world and, people are dressed real cash and that kind of thing, coming in the bright red suit probably isn't going to enamor you to the, higher ups. Well, you have to look where you're at.
You did mention you were going for your first management interview.
Yes.
And so that's different because you're trying to command power and not show how valuable you are to.
Right. And my position, required me, it was initially a marketing and a contract negotiator position. So it was a business position.
You needed to project power.
And you needed to project power and authority because if I'm going to talk to doctors about why they need to screen their patients for behavioral health because it's affecting their physical health, the first thing that comes into the doctor's mind is when I say I'm a licensed clinical social worker is, she's not a medical person. What does she know? So I have to come in looking like I'm going to, take control and they better listen to me.
Oh, right. Oh, so you had to take a playbook from like pharmaceutical sales where everyone dresses up like that.
Right. And you notice that the women I noticed in pharmaceutical sales who'd be dragging those bags in back of them with the lunches that they'd be bringing to the doctors and all that kind of stuff. They always hired very attractive
extremely attractive recent college graduates. So I used to be an executive assistant at Eli Lilly.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, why can't I be a salesperson? They were like, well, you need a college degree. And I didn't get one until my mid 40s.
Yeah.
But always really young women.
Right.
But they always dress like
they grab those doctors' attentions.
That's for sure. Sure do.
And believe me, those doctors now they limit the amount of samples that they can give out, but they used to give them like closets full of free
like
stuff.
So much stuff.
Yeah.
But and also those women were like eager to prove themselves. So, but okay. So we're going to start dressing in our professional lives much more ostentatiously, much more to be seen.
Well, and think about it. It's much more fun. If you're getting dressed in the morning with purpose, I mean, I would always pick out my outfit the night before. I'm not the type of person who just grabs things out of my closet and sticks it on my body. Unless I'm going, like I said, to the grocery store where I'm going to put on a pair of jeans and a boots, whatever. But if I'm going somewhere specifically, I dress with purpose.
Oh, I used to every Sunday pick out 7 or 5 days worth of clothes. Sorry.
Yeah.
With even jewelry and label them like what day, what thing, look at my calendar.
And so I think when you dress that way, then you have the mindset for the day to tackle whatever you need to, as opposed to being just all dressed in black and, just kind of, blending into the background. So if that's today's tip from our podcast, why don't we dress for dinner anymore? We should call it, why don't we dress for work anymore?
Why don't we get dressed at all anymore?
That's like why don't we get dressed for work anymore? I think that's a topic that women really need to take seriously, is have fun with the way that you dress. And you would be surprised at how much command and attention you will get if you are dressed well, but you're also dressed with flair.
Right. I mean, I should start asking some of my friends who still go into offices, like, what are they actually wearing? And just give me an every day, like, what are you wearing to work anymore? What are you wearing? I'm fun employed until I'm done with my MBA, which is in April. Like upcoming. But what is everyone wearing to work? We want to know. You guys have to let us know.
I don't know. I haven't been at work for 6 years.
We're working now, though. We're working it. So, Teddi, why don't we dress for dinner anymore?
I don't know, Melissa. Why don't we?
I don't know.